Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I am here with the makeup book tag. You might notice I'm in a different filming spot, and that's because I really don't have a lot of options for filming somewhere where I can put a bunch of stuff on a table. I was not tagged by anyone to do this, I just have been wanting to do this for a while, and actually as I'm filming this, I think my 1-year BookTube anniversary is tomorrow, so hopefully I can get this video up then, because you know what better way to celebrate than by combining two of my favorite things. I will also make sure to tell you all the names of the things that I'm using in case you are interested in what products I use, and as with all my videos, this video will have closed captions that I add, so if you don't catch the name of something I say, then you can turn those on and you can actually see the name spelled out. So let's get started. Standard disclaimer about how I'm not a beauty guru, I just like putting makeup on my face and blah blah blah, and let's get into it. So the first question is primer, and I will be using one from BH Cosmetics, and I don't know what it's called. Oh, it's the BH Perfecting Primer in Perfect Light. I've only used this a couple times, so I still don't really know how I feel about it. It's actually like, it's almost got enough color to be like a tinted moisturizer. By the way, I am full on going to be looking at myself in the viewfinder. I'm sorry. I do have a mirror somewhere, but we'll just see what happens. This might be super annoying. I'll be looking down at my mirror for some of this, so this may be very ill-advised. I don't know, but we're just gonna go with it, okay? And the question for that one is to pick a book that left a lasting impression. And I'm gonna go with The Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker, because when I first read that one, I did really enjoy it. I think I gave it like 4 stars, I mean. And I liked it, but I didn't really think too much about it after that, you know? And then I actually lent it to my best friend and we talked about it and we both kind of agreed. Like she said something like, I liked it, but it's not something I would reread again. And I was like, yeah, I totally understand that. And then a couple years later when I was studying abroad in Ireland, I randomly got like a craving to reread that book, which was funny because like it doesn't take place in Ireland or anything, but I just really wanted to pick it up again. And the local library happened to have a copy, so I went and I picked it up and I reread it like 2 or 3 times in that 1 week, and I just like fell in love with it like so much more than I had when I read it the first time. Like that book just like took a little bit to actually like really connect with me, and now it's one of my favorite books of all time. I love it so much. Then for foundation, I'm actually using another BH Cosmetics product, and that is the Forever Nude Illuminating BB Cream in the color Light, of course. I'm like, so going on the whole topic of I'm not really good at makeup, I just like it. I'm so bad at shade matching myself, and I think part of it is because like it's hard for me to find a color. Like if I do find one light enough, it's usually like super yellow or super orange, and this one kind of is too, but I don't know, it's a process. And obviously like there's still a lot more shades that fit me than fit people with deeper skin tones, so I really shouldn't be complaining. I'm just gonna put this all over. I do like super light coverage because, I don't know, you guys probably can't even tell on my videos because of my like camera quality, but I actually have a lot of freckles on my face, and I feel sort of weird if I can't see them. Like I feel like, I don't know, I don't really feel like me if I can't see them, and yeah, so I don't wear like super full coverage anything. And I guess that's another thing that makes the shade matching kind of not as big of a problem, is since I wear like super light coverage, it's not like, I don't know, it's not as much of an issue. The question for foundation is favorite first book in a series, and I really like Graceling by Kristen Cashore. I think that's a really great start, even though it's more of like a companion trilogy, so it's not exactly the same thing. And once again, looking down at my mirror. This is going to be the most frustrating video to watch, and I'm really sorry about this. I am all over the place. Oh, I thought of a better answer for that one. So I'm gonna go with The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, because depending on what order you read those books in, like if you go in publication order, you would read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe first, but if you would go in chronological order, you would read The Magician's Nephew first, and both of those are like 2 of my favorite books in the series, so I kind of like that whichever way you go through them, you start with one of my favorites, which is really interesting because when I was little, I really didn't like The Magician's Nephew. Like I had to kind of force myself through that book, and now it's one of my favorites in the series. And I keep meaning to like do a reread and actually read them in publication order, because I've only done chronological order so far, and I keep meaning to do that, but like I really love, I don't know, I really like reading them in chronological order, so that's never happened yet, but someday. And then the next question is concealer, which I actually forgot to write down because I don't really use concealer unless I have like a really big like acne problem that I need to cover up. Like I don't do it under my eyes. I do have like really dark shadows, but it's just something that runs in my family. Like I think apparently, like I looked it up one time, And there's certain parts of like Southern Europe where it's like very common, and I've just accepted that about myself. And I don't know, like my grandmother had them, my dad has them, a lot of people, my dad's side of the family have them, so I've just accepted it and I'm fine with it. So, but the considered question is one of my favorites, and that is pick a character you would like to get rid of. I'm gonna go with, no surprise, Mal from the Grisha trilogy. Honestly, probably Alina from the Grisha trilogy too. Like, characters are such a big thing for me, so if I don't like them, it's really hard for me to enjoy a book. I would also like to get rid of Shazi from The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I'm like picking main characters, like you can't just get rid of the main character, but I don't care, I'm doing it anyway. And next is powder, and for that I am using an e.l.f. pressed powder. This is in the shade Porcelain, and I just use like a little bit of this all over my face. Look at me like pretending I'm doing a tutorial and everything, just pretending I know what I'm talking about. And by the way, I already have moisturizer and lip balm on. I don't know if I mentioned that, so. And the question for powder was to pick your favorite last book in a series. And I'm gonna go with Winter by Marissa Meyer because I loved that one, and apparently, like, I saw this right after it came out, and I've seen it a little more recently too. Apparently it's kind of famous for being like a really disappointing finale. At least a lot of the people that I follow really didn't seem to like it very much, and I actually really loved it. Like, I didn't have very many problems with it. I didn't think it was too long. I liked the split point of views. I liked the character development. I liked how things resolved in that book. And also, just as an indication of how much I enjoyed it, that book, I think it came out, I don't remember what semester or year it was, but I was in college, had like a full class load. I was also work study, so I was very busy. And I still read that 800-page book. Was it 800 or 600 pages? I don't remember. It was a very long book. I still read that in, I think, a day and a half because it was just so good and so compulsively readable, and I really enjoyed it. So there you go. The next question is blush. So I'm going to use one from Coastal Scents, and that is their Forever Blush in Romantic. That's what it looks like. It's like a really, it looks almost brown on camera, but it's like, I don't know, like rosy kind of color, and I really like it. I don't do contour, so I just, when I use a darker colored blush like this, I just kind of use it, I guess, as contour. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like a little bit, I actually have to like dab it off on my wrist or it gets like super intense, but let's go for it. This one I'm going to use the mirror for. Gotta make that fish face. And just like a little bit like under the chin and like around the hairline. Okay. Looking in the viewfinder, I think that looks good. I don't go for like super intense blushes because I obviously have really light skin and it looks very overdone if I'm not careful. And then the question for that, I should have done that while I was doing the makeup, but I needed to concentrate, is the cringeworthy, like a cringeworthy romance. I'm gonna go with a book I read very recently, and that is Trial by Fire by Josephine Angelini. Oh man, there's kind of like a love triangle in it, but not really, because you know who she's gonna end up with. But Lily and Rowan, I buddy read this book with Lori from Lori Dawson, or from Lori and Thomas, and we were messaging about it, and we both like hated the romance. It was so uncomfortable. Like, I was reading this book and I actually had to take breaks every few pages because of how cringeworthy it was and of how much like secondhand embarrassment I was getting. And like, that doesn't happen to me a lot. Like, I'm pretty picky about the romances in my books, but I don't remember the last time I actually had to like physically distance myself from a book because it was so bad, and that one was. So needless to say, I do not recommend it. And then the next question is highlighter, a book that brightens your day. And for highlighter, I'm going to use, again, Wet n Wild. This is the highlighting bar in, I don't even know if it has a shade name on it. It's like from their Mermaid collection. I'm not super in love with this one. I'm still kind of figuring out how I feel about it. I only like recently started using highlighter, so I don't really know like what I'm doing, like even more than the other stuff I'm putting on my face. But like just on the high point of my cheeks. And for this question, I'm going to go with The Seer's Choice by J. Kathleen Cheney. It's kind of a weird one because it's a companion novella to a series that I really enjoyed from that author. And I do think, I'm trying to remember because I read that book like several months ago at this point. I'm trying to think, you probably would need to at least read the first book in the trilogy for it to make complete sense. But I do really enjoy that trilogy. This companion novella was like so short, but it really did just like completely like warm my heart and brighten my day. I really loved the characters, and the plot was almost non-existent. Like, it was basically an excuse for these two characters to like get together, and it didn't even bother me because I loved them so much, and like I really loved their interactions, and it was just like, It was just a good time. And I'm not somebody who always loves the like novella or like the bonus content stuff, and I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, I think I'm going to be talking about that, the trilogy that like that book is a companion to, pretty soon. So yeah, because I do really enjoy that one, and I think it's kind of underhyped here. It's about like sirens and mermaids. I don't think the novella really follows that, but it does have like supernatural abilities, and it was just a good time. Okay, that's enough. Then if I get like a little too intense, I just go back over with my powder brush and kind of dab over it. Okay, next is eyeshadow, which is probably going to take me the longest out of all these steps because it's one of my favorite parts, and it's probably obvious by the amount of colors I wear on my face. So I'm starting with eyeshadow primer, and this is again from Wet n Wild. It is Photo Focus eyeshadow primer. And then for eyeshadow, I'm going to be using the Emily Edit Makeup Revolution palette. I really enjoy this one. I mentioned Emily recently in a video I did because I just wanted to like talk about how much I love her. But anyway, I think I'm going to go for, do I want to do purple today? Let's do purple eyeshadow. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going into the color called Belle Violet. I guess I can show you what the palette actually looks like. I know that whole like beauty guru thing about like covering the mirror, I don't really bother with that. But going with Belle Violet, I might end up doing this with my, yeah, I think I'm going to go in with my finger actually, because this, like a lot of times with shimmery colors, that's where you get the best color.
I just want a little bit of light purple.
Also, this is the part of the makeup where I like truly ignore everything every makeup artist has ever said ever because like I rarely bother with like a neutral crease color. Like I don't do the like shaping of the eyeshadow you're supposed to. Like I don't know, I've kind of found like what I like and what works for my eyes, and that's kind of the point, you know, is like doing what you enjoy and what you think looks good. So okay, I'm gonna wipe off my finger. By the way, always make sure your hands are clean, obviously, before you like start sticking your fingers into your makeup, but mine are. And then before we go into more of a like dark purple color, which is another thing I do, you're like never supposed to do like monochromatic, I guess, makeup, and a lot of times I will match my lips and my eyeshadow because that's just, it's just who I am, you know? Okay, and you just blend a little bit. And then I'm gonna go into Family or Pi-Fi. What do I want to do? I think I'm going to go into Family, which is like a dark matte purple. I'm going to use that one. Just kind of put it on the outer edge and kind of in the crease. I also have one of these like color switcher things, which is basically a sponge, and you like run your brush over it and it like takes most of the color off, which is great if you don't want to like clean your brush between every color, which who does that? Okay, and then back to blending. Okay, so I mean, considering I'm like not actually using the mirror and things that I normally do, this is not too bad. I'm gonna go in a little bit more with that darker color just to make it match the other eye. This is also Family, by the way, same matte purple color. And my tea is finally steeped, and the color, the actual question for the eyeshadow question was book with your favorite color on it. I'm gonna go with Crimson Bound by Rosamund Hodge because like I know I've talked about that book before, but that's one of my favorite all-time books, and it's a really weird one. It's not one that I would necessarily recommend to everybody. Like I rarely feel like I can recommend that to somebody with confidence because it's so weird. But like Rosamund Hodge's like particular brand of like fairy tale and fantasy weirdness just like really clicks with me. I love her writing. I love the like unlikable female character in that book, like Rochelle. I just really, really enjoy her, and that book has like one of my favorite love interests of any book ever. Like I love Armand. I think him and Rochelle together are just so wonderful, and yeah, so I guess it's kind of weird because I'm like not even recommending this book to you. I'm just saying I love it. So there you go. The next question is eyeliner, and that is to pick a dark and mysterious book. So I never use like pencil or liquid eyeliner. I use a black or like dark eyeshadow. So I'm going to go in with Dark and Early on this like slanted, this is probably like an eyebrow brush. I don't even know, but that's what I'm going to use instead. And I'm probably going to speed this part up too because this will take a while sometimes. And some days I keep it like pretty precise, and sometimes I sort of smudge it out. I'm going a little bit smudgy today. Does that look reasonably even and well matched? Yes. And for a dark and mysterious book, I don't really read a lot of like thrillers. I tend to like more, I guess, like psychological or like mysteries, or like Daphne du Maurier. Both of the books I've read from her so far. I need to read more, but I really loved Rebecca, and I actually enjoyed My Cousin Rachel even more. So those would definitely count. I really recommend those. But another one that I kind of want to mention is one I haven't talked about in a while, and that is A Long Long Sleep by Anna Sheehan. It's actually the first video I ever did on my channel was a review of that book, so it seems appropriate as I'm celebrating my 1-year BookTube anniversary that I mention it again. But it also just came to me as like a perfect answer for this question, and it's a sci-fi retelling of Sleeping Beauty. But it's so much darker and stranger and like more mysterious than you would think from the premise. I just think the character development is really good. There is kind of a weird action sort of subplot that I didn't enjoy quite as much, but I still ended up giving the book 4 stars. And I actually have been wanting to reread it because it was such a like thoughtful consideration of like what it would be like to wake up 100 years in the future and everyone you know is gone, and this person who like rescued you is like you've never met him before. I just think it was a really good exploration of that, and like, I don't know, I feel like it handled the psychology of that really well. Like, it seemed realistic, even though obviously I've never been in that position. It seemed like, yeah, this could be how somebody really reacts to it. So highly recommend that book. Okay, next is mascara, and I am using the CoverGirl Supersizer. I really like this one. This was again a recommendation from Emily Noel 83. This is another part I'm not going to be able to talk for, so. And the question for that one was to pick a long book. And I'm going with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. That is one of my favorite books of all time. And oh man, I read it for Tome Topple last year and I loved it. It was like 1,000 pages, but I just flew through it. Like, I remember when I was reading it, like when I first started it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna give myself permission to like read something else in between this so I don't get bored. But I never got bored. It's honestly like if Jane Austen had written a fantasy novel with all of her like dry sense of humor, and also there's fairies. The fairy characters are so well done. Like, if you like that kind of classic like dangerous fair folk kind of fairies, then I think you would love it. And it's just like, it's so good. I know a lot of people hate the footnotes thing, but I really enjoyed it. It really felt like I was reading something that had happened, you know, like the footnotes made it feel so real, like the scholarly approach to magic and everything. I'm not gonna try and summarize it, as you can probably tell. It's just so good. Like, if you've been worried about how long of a book it was, give it a try anyway. Okay, the next question is Eyebrows, and that is a book that everyone should read. Now, I'm gonna answer the question because I have a book I really want to talk about for it, but I resent that question. Like, I don't know, I just feel like the beauty community in general needs to like get over the whole brow thing. The fact that it has taken over as like such a part of beauty that you can like shame people for is just really strange to me. Like, I've never really felt pressured to like do my makeup a certain way except for eyebrows. Like, I feel like people are like uncomfortably aggressive about like doing your eyebrows and how they should look. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it just seems like a weird thing. I'm just using a spoolie. This one is also from BH Cosmetics. I really like their brushes and they're pretty inexpensive. All of their things are really inexpensive and I think really good quality. And then for the eyebrow pencil, I'm going to use the NYX eyebrow pencil in the color black. And it's a good thing because I really didn't have a lot of options, because there are very few brands that will actually make a black eyebrow pencil, which is really frustrating. And like, I don't know, it's annoying because I have dark brown hair, my hair is not black, but my eyebrows are. So if I use a brown pencil in my black eyebrows, it looks really weird. And that's just something that's like really bothered me. And this is probably another part that I will not be talking much at during. We'll see. I don't do very much with my eyebrows. I just like lightly kind of fill in where they need it, and it often goes awry, but that's okay because I'm not here to impress anybody, you know? At least with my like eyebrow skills. So as far as the book that anyone or that everyone should read, I'm gonna go with Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. I just recently reread this for the first time in ages. for the Latinx-a-thon and Latinx book bingo, and oh my gosh, it was so much better than I even remember it. Like, I remember liking it when I was younger, but I didn't reread it as much as Becoming Naomi Leon, which is one of the author's other books. And I think that one just kind of eclipsed it for me, so I didn't reread it very much. But oh my god, I loved it so much. But for young kids especially, because it's a middle grade book, for young kids especially, to see from the perspective of somebody who is an immigrant to the United States, who from Esperanza is from Mexico, and for all of these really tragic reasons, she ends up having to flee to the United States in a way that is not quite legal immigration. And I just think it's so important for people to be exposed to that kind of desperation, and like the possible reasons that somebody would give up the country that they were born in and that they grew up in and that they love. Like, they would have to be in some truly dire, desperate circumstances. And I think that there's a tendency to have certain stereotypes in mind about immigrants, and particularly illegal immigrants, and particularly those from Mexico. And I just think this was such a beautiful and heartfelt book. And I also think the things that it says about like workers' rights and strikes, and how the people who are striking for better wages and the people who just want to work and, you know, get paid and feed their family, how they both want the same things and they're just going about it different ways. And it was just really so subtly and beautifully done. Even if you don't read middle grade, I think it's just a phenomenal book, and it's something that everyone could benefit from. Like, it's never too late to read that kind of book, so I wouldn't say like if you don't read it when you're a kid, just don't even bother. I think anyone could benefit from it, and I think especially we should expose kids to stories like these when they're younger. So anyway, that's my little spiel on that. Now I need to actually like finish doing my eyebrows. I'm using the Pearl Essence Rose Water Hydrating Face Mist. It smells like roses, it smells really great. And this is just kind of to like settle everything and make it not look too powdery. So here we go. Okay, so this will dry down so it doesn't look quite so like wet and metallic. Okay, so finally for lipstick. And actually I was watching a video of Kevin's from Storyglyph, and it reminded me that I have a lipstick from Wet n Wild, again, that I really love. And that is the Sea Seduction. It's a blue metallic liquid lipstick. I feel like I have much better precision when I'm using a typical lipstick bullet, but oh well, we're gonna try this. And again, I reserve the right to speed this up so that I don't look like a total idiot. Do you see what I mean? It's like just, it's so messy, like the edges are not cooperating. Might have to do some cleanup here, but I love the color. I would just love it more if it were in an actual stick. So 1 second as I clean this up. Okay, that's good enough. And the question for lipstick is your favorite book kiss. So I mentioned that I really like well done, very subtle romances. Like, if I connect to a romantic relationship in a book, it can be like my favorite part, you know, or one of my favorite parts of the book. But I don't tend to remember book kisses, because I feel like after a certain point, like, there's only so many ways to write one of those, you know? So I tend to like romantic moments, or like really heartfelt character moments that are not kisses, that are like more unique than that. But I'm gonna answer kind of an exception to that rule. And that was the kiss from Princess of Thorns by Stacey J. I love that book. Every time I bring this book up, I point out that it is mismarketed as a Sleeping Beauty retelling. That's not what it is. It's more of a fantasy book that follows the daughter of Sleeping Beauty. But anyway, it's definitely another weird one. The kiss in that one is just so fantastic, and it's been such a long time coming, because it's definitely like a hate to love, slow burn, slow development kind of romance. So by the way, if I can find the original tag, I will definitely link that down below. I'm also not going to tag anybody because I know not everyone is comfortable doing this, but if you like makeup and if you like books, I am officially tagging you, and I would love to see people do this. This is one of my favorite tags to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this like really weird and chatty and just off the rails kind of video. Also, I just realized I think all the products I used were drugstore, or like drugstore price range that you can get online, so that's pretty cool. I do have some like more high-end stuff, but I like drugstore is my heart. So that was really cool that that worked out this way. Please let me know if you guys have read any of the books I talked about and what you thought of them, if you would agree or disagree with my use of them for these questions. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!